Hi all! Today we're going to talk about the NS-7 PDW, an SMG that, while good, has a really undesirable niche that honestly you won't find yourself using too often. So, the NS-7 PDW is, your major common pool submachine gun. If you're looking for a common pool SMG, the first gun you'll probably think of is the PDW. And unfortunately, the PDW was designed with range in mind. As I talked about in my Scorpios video, this is not a very desirable trait on a submachine gun. The PDW may be the best submachine gun in the game at range, barring something like the Gladius, but in general, you don't pick a submachine gun for ranged combat. So, noteworthily, the fire rate is 750 RPM, which is, pretty average for a submachine gun, but it starts at 125 damage, which is low. This is not very good. Thankfully, it only drops to 100 damage, and when you've got 50 meters max damage range, 20 if you take soft point, that's pretty good. The reload speeds are fine at 2.675 long, 2.35 short, your ammunition is fine at 30, and of course you share soft stats with all the other submachine guns. So, the PDW is meant to be used at range, owing to its longer maximum damage range and it only dropping 2 tiers of damage. The problem is, when you pick a submachine gun, you pick it for close range. The ranges at which the PDW pulls ahead of the other submachine guns are where, say, scout rifles and your close quarters bolt actions are already way better. And that's the inherent problem with the PDW. Yes, it is a ranged SMG. The problem is, there's no reason to use a ranged SMG when you can grab your close quarters bolt action, a scout rifle. It just doesn't really have... It fills a niche, but not a niche that needs to be filled. And that's really the problem with the PDW. It does fill an interesting niche, it's just, there's not really a reason for it. Also, it's kind of amusing that it describes it as hard hitting but slower firing, when 125 is one of the lowest primary damage models in the game. But, whatever. So, when it comes to builds, thankfully, because the PDW is fairly well rounded, you can kind of build it any way you want. I would personally always opt for a 1X on it because... Sure, you can pick a 2, but what are you honestly doing if you're picking more than a 2 on a submachine gun? I mean, if you want to use the Quadra, be my guest. I just wouldn't. In the barrel, you can go with any of the 3 options. If you're leaning towards an aim-down sight build, I would pick the compensator. If you want to stay silent at closer ranges, bring a suppressor. If you don't want to commit to anything, bring a flash sub. On the rail, you can honestly go grip, laser, or cinemag. All are fine. If you're going to try and use it like a conventional submachine gun, run the laser. If you want the extra ammo, run the extended, you get 10 rounds. If you want the aim down sight's control of the grip, take the grip. Then you get to the ammo. High velocity is a trap, take soft point. Just like any other submachine gun, just take soft point. You're going to see me using the Assassin PDW, but it is identical. It's just a reskin. I already have the regular one or Axiom, so... So, of course, now into the live gameplay. It is currently 8:28 p.m. on Connery. It is primetime Osher. Unfortunately, it's Osher, but you know what? You get what you get. So, the PDW, as I've stated, fills an undesirable niche. Yes, you get a ranged submachine gun. This is unique, especially if you're not on NC and you don't have access to something like the Cyclone or the Gladius. However, how many times do you pick a submachine gun actively wanting a ranged weapon? Can you not climb this? The more you know. I genuinely didn't know that. So, while you have range, there's just not really a point, because other weapons do it better. Don't get me wrong, if you're going for your submachine gun directive, the PDW is a fine option. But, in terms of actually using it as a weapon outside of Axioming, why bother? It's not bad, it's just that really low DPS really hurts you, and pretty much every other submachine gun will outgun you in close range. The only exception might, emphasis on might, be the Hailstorm. And the Hailstorm is terrible. So, Unfortunately, because of its low damage model, 750 at 125, you're going to die a lot. You know what a 125 damage model makes? It makes you a victim. Unless you're chaining headshots, with this low of a fire rate for this damage tier, it's not a good time. May I remind you that the Armistice is at 896 RPM for the same damage model. In other words, the Armistice fires 146 rounds per minute faster, and is on the same damage model. If that doesn't tell you how bad of a DPS loss you're going to suffer with this thing, I don't know what will. For comparison's sake, the Eridani is at the same 750 RPM, but is a full damage tier higher at 143. Sure, they are also identical in headshot time to kill, but on the average, the Eridani will kill more often. Now, luckily, like over-reliance on headshots, they're not that hard to get. Especially if you're going to commit to the Compensator Grip build, it's pretty easy to click on heads. Same if you're running the laser and you want to just click on heads while hipfire. That is the only saving grace of this damage tier. But the fact remains that you're still going to just get out-killed by most other weapons in the game. Luckily, you're playing Infiltrator, so you can usually position yourself well to make up this deficit. But the problem still remains. If you have to take a one-on-one fight, you're probably going to die. However, I also want to note that, due to it having longer range, you can somewhat make it work on a light assault. The problem is, light assault also can make good positioning advantages where you can usually close the gap to use, say, a Sirius, a Cyclone, an Armistice. It's not that bad if you're doing the light assault directive and you need something to get your submachine gun kills with, but you're still probably better off with your faction-specific weapons. Honestly, the only real use of the PDW is doing your submachine gun directive. It just doesn't shine at anything else. You don't have the DPS to be particularly competitive in close range. The range advantages just aren't useful because just get a scout rifle instead. Get your auto scout instead, bozo. Like, it's not bad. It just... There's not really a point for this kind of weapon in the game. It's the same reason that the old directive submachine guns used to suffer. There's just not really a point to using a ranged submachine gun. That really is the crux of the problem. Sure, it will definitely allow you to get kills here and there that you wouldn't get with other submachine guns, but on the whole, there's no reason to actively pick this thing up outside of, you know, grinding the shiny metal on it. That's really what there is to say. Like, it's not bad, it's just... There's not a reason to use this gun. I just stepped on a bouncing Betty. Honestly, there is nothing more, like, oh shit inducing in this game than seeing the mine as you step on it. Because you know you're dead, but you have enough time, that split second, to realize that, oh shit, I made the wrong move. Luckily, the good thing about the PDW is they give this thing away, or make it cheap a lot. Like, for example, there's been a couple bundles where you can get the gold PDW for like 500 daybreak cash. Now, assuming you don't have a PDW and you would like a submachine gun, especially considering you don't start with one as a new player, honestly, 500 ABC for the gold PDW is not a bad deal at all. It's still a solid submachine gun. It's just underwhelming. But, you know, it does have versatility, which is, you know, a nice trait in itself. It's just, among those players who have lots of, like, if you have a lot of options and you have a lot of weapons in your arsenal, there's just not really a point to using the PDW. Outside of, like I've been saying, putting the shiny metal on it. I mean, let's be real, there's good odds that it will either be this thing or the Punisher or both in your submachine gun directives. So, who am I kidding? You're probably going to use it anyway, but you're probably not going to particularly care for it, and even if you do, you'll find it hard to justify picking it back up after getting the round. If you're on NC, honestly, the Gladius is just a straight-up better option. If you're on VS or TR, I mean, it's still okay, but it's still forgettable. Oh, I got clicked by a masthead. That's unfortunate. Over to a Trident fight. Because nothing ruins my evenings more than Trident fights. I would say that on the whole, like every other submachine gun, you do prefer close-range combat with the PDW, despite its niche. But, you know, it works. It's just... It's like, really, what else is there to say about this gun? It works, but... You know... Do you really want to actively pick this thing up instead of a Cyclone, a Sirius, an Armistice, a Punisher? Hell, I prefer the MKV to this thing solely because it has more DPS. It's just... It just doesn't really have a purpose. Or the purpose it does have is just so niche and so, like, not worth caring about that, you know, at least it looks nice. Like, at least you have the unique cassette tape loading mechanism. That's about the only saving grace. The Assassin model looks good. I don't know, I'm kind of at a loss for things to say about it. It is surely what you would expect out of an NS-7 machine gun. It doesn't have much DPS, but it's easy to use, and it has, you know, some range. But the problem is, in a highly, highly competitive class like submachine guns, where damage is realistically everything because you're fighting at such close ranges, it just doesn't really make sense. At least with other NS weapons like the 11C or the 15M or the 11A. You know, they clearly have a purpose, they clearly have value over weapons in their class. PDW just doesn't. And the Punisher is just honestly straight up better than this thing in every fucking way. It's unfortunate, but, you know, that is what it is. And, yeah, obviously for training headshots, you can kill people fast. But you can do it faster with other guns. It's just... I really honestly don't know what to say on this thing anymore. Like, it's not bad, it's just, you know, you're going to feel that lack of DPS, and it's going to get you killed a lot. You will become the next victim. So, that's all there really is to say on the PDW, you know? It's not bad, it's just the niche it feels isn't a desirable one. So, that's all I have to say on it. Thank you for watching if you're still here, and I will see you next time, where we will cover the Tengu. That'll be an exciting video, don't you think? Anywho, see ya.